23rd meeting of the Planning Board here at Whitcomb Hall. I'll begin with the roll call. Scott Self here. Michael York.
Here.
Jane Johnson.
Here.
Michael Day is not here. Brandon Self.
Here.
Richard Lane.
Here.
Sly Karazinski.
Here.
Steve Malone.
Here.
Brian Vertigel. And Victoria Ames.
Here.
Okay, I will seat. Well, Victoria might have to book out of the meeting, so I'm going to seat Steve. Michael, this evening.
Excuse me, Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
You're breaking up and it's not easy to hear you. If you would just repeat that, you were seated whom for whom?
Okay, I seated Steve for Michael Day.
Thank you.
Is that a little bit better? Because I wasn't speaking into my microphone. I was looking away from it actually on an iPad here.
No, the sound quality is fine. It's just that it was breaking up momentarily.
All righty, thanks. And just let me know if it happens again.
Thank you. I will.
Okay. All right, so the agenda this evening is we're going to review and approve the minutes of February 2nd and February 9th, and we'll have a regional impact vote and the applications and public hearings. There, I guess. Is Planning Board number 22-023. It's a compliance hearing. Brickstone Land Use Consultants, LLC, on behalf of Swanzey Lake Campground, LLC, has submitted revisions to the conditionally approved site plan for an expansion to Swanzey Lake Campground. Revisions include the addition of a fence and landscaping at 88 East Shore Road. The subject property is shown at tax map 45, lots 22-3 and 23, and is located in the Rural Agricultural District. Item number B is Planning Board number 23-006, Site Plan Review, Fieldstone Land Use Consultants, PLLC, on behalf of Ketola Contracting, LLC, requests a site plan review for construction of a 4-unit multifamily condominium development and associated site improvements on undeveloped land on Whitcomb Road. Subject property is shown at tax map 33, lot 5 in the Rural Agricultural District. Upon a finding that the application meets the submission requirements of the site plan review regulations, the board will vote to accept the application as complete, and a public hearing may follow immediately or will be scheduled for a time and date certain. Item C, Planning Board number 23-007, that's a site plan review. The town of Swanzey requests a site plan review to construct an addition to the recycling center at 97 Pine Street. This application is subject to RSA 674:54, government use of land. The subject property is shown at tax map 57, lot 125, and is located in the business district. Upon a finding that the application meets the submission requirements of the site plan review regulations, the board will vote to accept the application as complete, and public hearing may follow immediately or will be scheduled for a time and date certain. Item number D, Planning Board number 23-008, Site Plan Review. Town of Swanzey requests a site plan review for improvements to Richardson Park, including construction of a new bathhouse at 60 East Shore Road. This application is subject to RSA 674:54, government land use. The subject property is shown at tax map 45, lot 15, and is located in the business district. Upon a finding that the application meets the submission requirements of the site plan review regulations, the board will vote to accept the application as complete, and a public hearing may follow immediately or will be scheduled for a time and date certain. Now, under discussions and other business, there's a voluntary merger on Cobble Hill Road. We'll be looking at our rules of procedure amendments. Site plan review regulations, if we get into that, and any other business that may be required. So going to the beginning of the list, we have the minutes of February 2nd, 2023, and present were myself, Richard Lane, Sly Karazinski, Michael York, Jane Johnson, and Steve Malone. Anybody have anything on the minutes of the February 2nd? That was the special meeting that the planning board had. If no one has
Accepted as presented.
a motion by Mr. Malone to accept the minutes as presented, is there seconded by Richard Lane? Is there any further discussion? All those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? And those minutes accepted. Now the minutes of February 9th, and present were myself, Brandon Self, Michael York, Jane Johnson, Sly Karazinski, Richard Lane, and Victoria Ames. Anyone have anything on those minutes?
Yes, on when I talked about SB 231, it's $68 million taxpayer funds.
That was at the very end of that, wasn't it? Yeah, it was at the very end, of the very last page it was on there.
Right.
And it's written as 65 million, and you said it was 68 million.
It's 68 million.
Okay. And 68 million of taxpayer funds. Okay. Anybody else have anything on those minutes? None. Motion to accept them with the amendments. Make that motion, Michael York. Motion by Michael York to accept the minutes with the amendments, seconded by Brandon Self. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? And those are taken care of. Now, regional impact vote. Is there anything on tonight's agenda that would require us to notify surrounding towns on the regional impact?
I'll move that there isn't.
And a motion by Michael York to move that nothing on tonight's agenda requires us to notify surrounding towns. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Richard Lane. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? And that's done. Okay, now the first up is a public hearing, and that is Planning Board 22-023. This is a compliance hearing. Brickstone Land Use Consultants LLC on behalf of Swanzey Lake Campground LLC has submitted revisions to the conditionally approved site plan for an expansion to Swanzey Lake Campground. Revisions include the addition of a fence and landscaping at 88 East Shore Road. Subject property is shown at tax map 45, lots 22-3 and 23, and is located in the rural agricultural district. I will open up the public hearing and let Mr. Fippard to show us what he's got.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Jim Fippard on behalf of Swanzey Lake Campground, LLC. This is a colored version of one of the revised plan sheets I submitted to show compliance with your conditions of approval. So I'll call your attention to the maintenance building, which is located here near the top of the page. We're calling for installation of 6-foot-high solid fencing on both sides of the maintenance building. The fencing extends approximately 200 feet going to the right, which extends beyond the proposed new campsite areas, and about 150 feet going to the left, which also extends beyond the proposed campsite areas. And the purpose was to provide solid screening, so this will be 6-foot-high stockade fencing. And then, in addition to that, we're proposing landscape plants in the area where, when we went to the site visit, you may have noticed on one side of the maintenance building site, it was pretty thin in the understory. And as you went to the other side of the site, it was pretty thickly grown in. So we're proposing to fill in plantings in this area where the existing understory is thinly planted. And what we would propose to do, I mean, they won't be planted exactly in this configuration because we want to work around the plants that are there. We don't want to remove vegetation in order to plant a plant in this configuration shown. So the numbers of plants will remain the same, but we'll site them to fill in gaps and preserve all the existing vegetation. So we don't lose any vegetative screening, we gain vegetative screening. The plantings that we're calling for, I turned in the plan and listed the plants, and we're calling for 18 hemlocks and 5 rhododendrons. And since that time, I was provided comments from an abutter who had concerns about using hemlocks. So I followed up with one of the nurseries we work with to buy plants, and while hemlocks are still available, there's growing concern about the viability long-term for hemlocks. So he recommended I replace it with mountain laurel. And so that's what I'm going to offer to the board. Instead of hemlocks and rhododendrons, we'll use mountain laurels and rhododendrons. And that'll provide the screening. They're similar in nature, the plants. They hold their leaves year-round. They have vegetation low to the ground. In a wooded area like this, I expect they'll average about 10-foot height and 10-foot width as the plants mature. I think it'll be effective for screening. I also called for a change in the maintenance building that I want to call to your attention. So on the back wall of the maintenance building, previously it was just a solid wood wall. And I want to add a passage door so they can get to the area behind the building for maintenance purposes, to water the plants, especially the first year that they're planted. And we have a source of water in this building, so they can extend a hose out and keep the plants watered in this area. So that's the only change. The door will be kept locked when it's not in use, obviously, to do the maintenance. But that gives them better access instead of trying to go all the way around the fence on either side to get to this area and for maintenance of the back side of the building.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. Questions from the board? Any comments? Yes, Mr.
Question
Malone.
regarding the back door, rear door.
Yeah?
During the normal day when you are not doing maintenance in that area, will that door be kept closed?
It'll be locked.
Will be locked, okay.
And any comments on the substitution from Hemlocks to Mountain Laurel? No? Fine with me too. I think that's a good choice. Yeah, Mountain Laurel's nice, and it'll grow. It'll be good there. That's fine. It's pretty to look at in the summertime. Okay. Any comments from the abutters on this? Sitting right over there. Any comments? Are there any comments about the what he just proposed there?
Yes, I would actually prefer rhododendrons, just because they do tend to grow taller and their leaves are much broader. And I've had really good luck on my property with rhododendrons. Obviously, it's right there in the same neighborhood. Additionally, how long exactly is the fence going on each side?
It's 200 feet on the easterly side. This is about 150 feet on the westerly side. So the total distance of screening is about 430 feet long.
But you're still gonna see the end of that fence through the woods. I mean, those campsites on the far end are still gonna be within range of the end of the fence. I want it long enough where they're not gonna be trying to find the end of it. And also, I would like it to be 8 foot high, because I was thinking about things a little bit, and so
Could that
this,
person be identified, please, for the recording secretary?
Oh,
Jana Blake, I'm the abutter.
Thank you.
So this is 6 foot high right here. That's not very tall. All it's gonna take is one person to put a hand down and boost up on over. We're looking at 8 foot high. It's pretty much the height of this ceiling. That's obviously a lot more screening for me from having to see this, as well as a lot more protection. It's a lot harder to jump an 8 foot fence.
okay. Well, 6 foot is standard. I think we had talked about 6 feet when we had you come back for this, for the fence, correct?
Yes.
At that.
We did, but I did some thinking about it, and I considered the fact that there's going to be a significant amount of people on the other side of that fence, as well as this is going to devalue my property, whether anyone thinks so or not. So I want to know for sure that I'm getting as much screening of seeing tarps and tents and campers and barking dogs. It's not going to block it completely, but an 8 foot fence is obviously going to block it just that much more.
Okay. Any other comments? Or
Can you
Steve?
refresh my recollection? What type of fence is that?
It's a stockade fence.
Okay.
Good side in or out?
The finished side is facing the campsites.
Otherwise, they're going to use it as a step ladder.
Absolutely. Okay.
Other comments from the board on that?
To the abutters' thoughts on the rhododendrons, could you switch the Mountain Laurel to 5 to 18?
That change anything?
Sure, I have no problem with that. I mean, they could be all
I
rhododendron.
think she wanted them all rhododendron.
Yeah, I would prefer all rhododendron.
Just to get a little diversity in there.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right.
So, Mr. Chairman, could you please repeat that change?
It's not a change yet. I don't know if it's changed yet. It was just a suggestion that, I don't remember how many you said rhododendron being replaced with the mountain laurel.
I think it was 18 and 5 on your plan.
18 rhododendron and 5 mountain laurel. But the butter wanted it all rhododendron. You still want it all rhododendron, ma'am?
Yeah.
Yes, so you prefer all rhododendron. You can decide that here. The applicant has a problem either way.
No problem.
Okay. Would you comment on the height of the fence?
Yes, I believe 6 feet is more than adequate. The terrain here is all going downhill. So as you look from this, the north side, you're looking through the 100-foot buffer, and then the terrain is going downhill. Every bit of it is going downhill away from that. The closest campsites are, this is a 40 scale, so these are almost 100 feet away from the fence.
And how far down would you say, as it slopes down, how much further down from the level of that fence? I don't know if you have a contour on that set of drawings or not.
I do have contours. See the label of that
It's 2 extra feet. I honestly don't see that there should be a problem with asking for that additional 2 extra feet.
My concern is the cost of the fence.
Understood, but what about the cost to me when I try to sell my
I'm
property?
talking to the
Yeah, ma'am.
board.
Continue.
My concern is the cost of that additional 2 feet. And for what you're getting, I don't think it's a significant improvement because the grade is dropping so dramatically. And I'll give you an example. Here at this location, we're 2, 4, 6, we're 8 feet lower than the bottom of the fence.
Is that at the first campsite?
This is at the closest campsite.
Okay, you're 8 feet lower than the bottom of that fence.
Right. On this side, we're 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12 feet lower than the bottom of the fence. So I don't think 8 feet is going to give her what she thinks she's going to get, and I would object to being required to do that.
Board members, any comments on that?
On the issue of noise,
Noise.
and once again, I'm not sure, is there a time restriction on what time radios have to be turned off or amplified music has to be turned off?
10 o'clock.
But it's not part of the compliance.
No, I'm
We're here
just-
for those specific items on that.
Yeah.
site plan. And if there are no other comments or questions, public or the board, then I will close the public hearing.
Mr. Chairman, make sure your microphone is on. It's not easy to hear you.
It's green.
Ready?
Yeah, like it's green.
Okay, I guess it's on. I'll just pull it closer. Is that better, Beverly? Maybe not.
Just have to raise the volume.
Do you have a larger scale to show the property line, like where the stream is, the seasonal stream is on the back side up there?
Beverly, did you hear me?
No, I did not.
You can't hear me?
I can't hear you either.
You can't either?
No. Well, you're next to him.
I'll just talk
You still
louder.
can't hear him?
I was in the midst of closing the public hearing. If there's no more comment from the board or comment from the public, I'm going to close the public hearing and we can deliberate on it.
I do have additional.
Okay.
Good night. Do you have a larger map showing the property line and the seasonal stream?
Does it have to do with that fence and the bushes or?
Yes, with the fence, with the length of the fence and how far it goes.
Okay. And you're looking for what?
So,
A different
on the
map?
back side of this, yes, that right there. So there's a seasonal stream roughly, right, about this area?
Yes.
Yes. So I would propose that this is carried closer to that seasonal stream. I do know that there is a significant grade difference there, but I would prefer just to go that much further to block anyone from seeking the end of the fence.
Okay. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, could you repeat what the abutter said, please?
Butter would prefer the fence on, it looks like is that the northern, no, it's the eastern part of the lot to go further down towards a seasonal stream that is over there. it's 200 feet now, and she's wanting it to go further towards that stream, is what she said.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other comments?
I want to add one thing to that.
Yep.
And if you guys approve the 8 foot, I would say the 8 foot to where he has it now, and then you could drop it down to 6 foot on that additional section if you go further.
Okay, so she said if we extend that stockade fence, then it could go, and we increase it to 8 feet, it could go 8 feet to where it is now, and then 6 feet the rest of the way to wherever it may go by the stream.
Thank you.
Any other comments? Then I will close the public hearing. And,
We got a question on Zoom.
oh, okay, go ahead. And just identify yourself, and are you in a butter?
I am on the lake. I'm not sure I'm a direct abutter. I don't know the definition.
The definition is if your property abuts the
I
application.
am not an abutter.
Okay, well, we've already closed the public hearing anyways, and basically the comment is for abutters. I'll allow it anyway, but I just speak up a little bit sooner. Go ahead.
My question is, one of the conditions for approval was the state inspection of the existing septic system. Has that been done?
That is correct. That's not part of this compliance hearing. That's an administrative one, and that will be done before they get their permit, their building permit. But that, again, is done through, I guess, whatever company they decide to have inspect it, and then that has to be checked by the land use office, code enforcement, and they would sign off on that.
So the drawings can potentially be signed off without the benefit of that inspection?
The drawings can be signed off if, after the compliance hearing, if they've complied with everything on the drawings, but it will not be final until all of the administrative permits and so on and so forth are.
Can I just ask who's speaking?
Oh yeah, you didn't identify yourself, sir, did you?
I'm Joe Parisi, 41 West Shore Road.
Okay, thank you. So that's how it works. I don't know if you heard that or not. I don't know if these microphones are working well or not, but that's how it is. Did that satisfy your question?
It satisfies my question. It doesn't satisfy me.
Okay, I don't know how to take that, but I'll take it as a yes. All right, so we can deliberate on that. So the question is 6 feet high enough? Let's see, it's 200, and it's 200 feet long enough on that side, on that easterly side. Let's see. Again, it's,
What's the additional length that she's asking for?
Can I answer that?
you can answer that, yes.
I'm not sure because this 100 scale plan doesn't show the location of the stream. I'd say it's probably another 200 feet. Is that fair? It's quite a distance downhill. And
I'd
then,
even go with another 100 feet. I'd be happier with that than none.
and then at the bottom of the hill, this is all an existing wetland area. And the stream is located within that wetland area.
The next question is how close to the stream could you possibly get before it causes a problem? And we also can't build within the stream, only a certain distance.
There are restrictions there. Well, I guess the question is, then about extending the length of it. Is it, she's concerned that somebody's going to find the end of the fence and come around it. I think that's the concern was, and come on her property. And it may or may not happen, don't know. She's concerned about someone climbing over that fence too as well, coming on her property. But again, that may or may not happen, but that is what we have a police force for as well. If you're trespassing, you can call a cop and get the person off your property. I don't know that there's really any evidence that people are wandering out of this campground. It's been going on for a while, not up by her house, but it's been going on for a while there. And I don't know that anything's been brought up about that.
Can I ask, can I add one comment?
I don't think you can, sorry. The public hearing is closed, unless it's a point of order. It's not? Okay. So the extension, let's talk about that. You can see it on the plans there, or I think you can see it on these plans here where that fence goes. It's 200 feet from the side of that building, and you can see the first campground is there, the fence is over there. It is about 8 feet downhill for this first campsite, about 10 feet downhill for that campsite. It's 100 feet from there to the property line, and I don't know what this here looks like, about 150 feet to the house. So we've got quite a distance between those two, I would say anyways. But what's anybody else think?
It really fell off quite a bit on that side.
It does, yeah. Yeah.
It wasn't anything I wanted to walk in down into.
And then if you
No.
if you're standing down below looking up, that's gonna repair the human eye to be a lot more than, like Sly's point is, who's gonna really wanna climb all the way up there?
Well, microphone. Sorry, Beverly.
That's okay.
Now, according to the site plan, they're going to leave as much of this vegetated also as well between the campsites and the fence. They're going to put the fence up there, and then they're going to put the bushes looks about 20 feet, I think, from the fence on that property. It's the north side of that fence there. So I would think that 200 feet on that side is enough, and it looks like what the 150 right to the property line on the other side would be enough for that. What does anybody else think?
I kind of go along with you on that. I think what the applicant has done is quite a bit to satisfy concerns. I think going another 200 feet or 150 feet to the east, if somebody wants to go around the fence, they're going to go around the fence.
Regardless.
You know, you can go to infinity. If somebody wants to go around, they're going to go around.
Yeah.
I think what they're proposing they've done sufficient.
Yeah, I'd agree with that, as well as the height. I would think 6 feet, it's usually the standard height, and 6 feet would be enough in my opinion too. I don't know about the rest of you.
I agree as well.
So as far as the plantings there, changing them all to rhododendron, I don't have an objection to that.
That's fine.
And if the hemlock was gonna die in 10 years or something, you know, then probably a good choice.
Rhododendron lasts a lot longer.
Rhododendron, you say? Lasts
Yes.
longer?
We had, when I lived on Long Island, we had 8-foot rhodies that were planted by my grandfather. They had trunks about 6 to 8 inches.
Yeah, well, and that's probably the way though. So the only change to it then would be that they all should be rhododendron plants rather than a mix, I would say.
I would prefer all rhodies.
All of them rhododendron,
I would
yeah.
prefer it.
Okay, now we,
Well, I think they should all be rhododendrons. I can relate to having rhododendrons grow well on your property, but mountain laurel doesn't grow on my property. So I can really relate to that. Plus, a rhododendron gives you much more of a buffer. They're thick, and you can't see through them. But as for the fence, I know that I would be the only vote for putting it at 8 feet, even if along the property, like she said, and then make it lower as it goes down. But I certainly can relate to Ms. Blair's feelings, because she is worried about her safety and her privacy, that she has built a home there to have and has enjoyed, and I can relate to that, but I don't think I can defend it enough that I can get everybody to go with me on it. But I certainly, I would like to see the fence go down to the stream, and I would like to see an 8-foot fence. And probably if I lived there, I'd like to see 40 rhododendrons. But that's how I feel about it.
okay.
And I must say, I commend her for defending herself.
Yeah, that's what these hearings are all about, for sure. Anybody else have anything?
Just to formalize that, I would move that it be all rhododendron.
That would be in a motion, yeah, that would have to be in the motion that it was all rhododendron
Yes,
for
I
the
make that
plantings, yeah.
motion.
Okay, a motion by Steve Malone to approve the conditions as drawn and to change the plantings to all rhododendron. I think that covers it.
I'll second that.
There's a second, okay, a second by Stalak Harazinski. Is there any further discussion? Then all those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, all those opposed? Okay, just bringing that back up.
Thank you.
So, yep, that's done with that.
Thank you for working with the objectives. Thank you for working with the objectives.
So there's no vote on the fence height?
That was the vote on the fence height. The planning board decided not,
Bedrooms, I didn't hear about fence height.
Let's present it.
it was presented in the drawing as 6 feet and at 200 feet and 100 feet. Next item up, item B, planning board number 23006, site plan review, Fieldstone Land Consultants, PLLC. On behalf of Ketola Contracting LLC, requests site plan review for construction of a 4-unit multifamily condominium development and associated site improvements on undeveloped land on Whitcomb Road. The subject property is shown at tax map 33, lot 5, in the rural agricultural district. Upon a finding that the application meets the submission requirements of the site plan review regulations, the board will vote to accept the application as complete, and a public hearing may follow immediately or will be scheduled for a time and date certain.
Thank you all very much for everything, seriously. I hope that someday you have that same scenario happen to you. Thank you, ma'am. I appreciate it.
If you want to wear it, it's fine.
Mr. Brandon, you ready to make your presentation? Just go over the completeness of the application, your checklist?
Sure. Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. For the record, my name is Chad Brannon, civil engineer with Fieldstone Land Consultants, as you all know. Be representing Ketola Contracting LLC this evening with their site plan application. And before I get too far down the road, I guess we'll walk down through the checklist just to review the submission for completion. So the name and address of the owner, that's certainly detailed on the plan sheets. Tax map and lot numbers are also detailed, and if anybody wants me to point to anything, I can, but I was just going to walk down through.
Just walk down through them.
Okay, perfect.
Yep. And if someone wants you to point to something, they will ask.
All the plans have a north arrow in written graphic scale. The name and address of our company or the surveyor for this project who was, we used a reference plan that was DiBernardo Associates, so they're also shown on the plan. Title sheet, we have vicinity sketch in the plan set. Name and address of all abutting landowners is detailed within the plans and also within the application. We do show all the physical features and land within 200 feet of the site. Perimeter boundary lines are shown. The lot area is detailed in square footage, in square feet and acres. And we do show the size, shape, and height of any of the proposed structures. There's actually no existing structures on this property, so that's not applicable. The next one, location, name, and widths of any existing and proposed roads on the property. There are none, which is why we have checked that off as no. Identification of access from the site to public streets, site distances from the access point, curb cuts, and proposed changes. We do detail that within the plan set. Location and number of parking and loading spaces is detailed in the site plan. We do have a landscaping plan within the plan set. We also have the proposed lighting detailed on a lighting plan. We do show within the plan set any natural features such as water bodies, ledge, and wetlands. Existing and proposed grades and topographic contours are detailed within the plan set at an interval higher than 5 foot, which is the requirement. I think we showed 2 and 1 foot intervals in different areas. The size and accurate location of all existing and proposed water mains, culverts, fire hydrants, and fire ponds. We do detail everything that's applicable within that section, within the plans. Surface drainage patterns, we did submit a detailed stormwater management analysis for this application, so that was covered. The next item is not applicable because there is no existing system that needs to be analyzed for a subsurface disposal system, and we will be proposing a system with this project, which is the next item, which we do show the location of the proposed system. Location of proposed well, we do show that siting on the site. We do have soil survey data within the plans. In the location of any existing or proposed easements is not applicable because there are no encumbrances on the property and we're not proposing any easements. And then the last item is architectural plans, which we did submit with the application.
Okay, thank you. Did he miss anything? If not, if the application is complete, then a motion stating so, and we can move along.
I make the motion.
Motion by Brandon Self to accept the application as complete. Second by Michael York. Is there any further discussion? Then all those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? Okay, we're moving to the public hearing. I will open up the public hearing and make your presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Again, Chad Brandon, Fieldstone Land Consultants, representing Ketola Contracting, LLC. We are proposing a multifamily development over tax map parcel 33-5. It's a 11.92 acre property with frontage along Wickham Road. It's approximately about 341 feet of frontage along Wickham Road. There is an existing driveway or access that exists on the north side of the site that traverses back to where really the primary buildable area is on this subject property. As you can see, taking a look at the plan, we do have some jurisdictional wetlands on the property along the front portion. And so this road, this existing driveway and the proposed improvements to that driveway are appropriately situated, staying away from those jurisdictional areas, utilizing the existing culvert crossing here to really access the best upland buildable area on the property outside of any of these setbacks. The town does have pretty significant setbacks from jurisdictional wetlands for septic systems, and that is really what's depicted here on this site. So it makes sense to build the proposal in this location because we'll ultimately need to site the subsurface disposal system here. The other important factor to point out here is we have the south branch on the west side of the property. That's actually the property lines, the south branch river, and that is a jurisdictional water body, so it has shoreline setbacks. The 250-foot shoreline setback line comes onto the property in this location here. We've situated all of the improvements to be outside of that setback, not because you necessarily have to, but we were able to accommodate that setback with this development, and we thought that would be a nice way to position everything and have adequate buffering to that sensitive area in the back. So that's essentially why we're proposing the development in this location here. This is a multifamily residential development which has 2 duplex units, one on each side of the proposed parking area, which is down the center. There's a 3-bedroom and a 2-bedroom unit in each building. The buildings are about 1,528 square feet in size each, and then each unit will have its own driveway, or excuse me, its own garage, which will be a 22 by 24 garage structure. So each unit will have an 11 by 22 garage space, which is situated just on the north side of the proposed duplexes. We have adequate parking shown down the center, and then certainly an adequate driveway. We're making some upgrades to the driveway. We did include a pull-off area, just because we're trying to make that driveway as narrow as reasonably possible, minimize the tree cutting, and utilize the footprint of disturbance that's already there. Be a nice setting. I think some people had an opportunity to walk the site. I think it was during the zoning board process, but this property is very nicely situated with significant buffering and just it's a really nice rural setting. The driveway access does have adequate sight distance in both directions. And then the stormwater for this site it's a really simple design, just because it's relatively compact. We've graded this site so that everything really drains kind of in this northerly direction, and then enters a grass treatment swale here, and then ultimately goes into a infiltration basin that we've designed in this location here.
On your statements here, it says that the property slopes from east to west. You have your storage on the east side of the property. Going uphill?
Well, generally, you can see these jurisdictional wetlands here. So it generally does slope east to west, meaning there's a pretty significant drop off to the river. And if you took away the wetlands, the average slope does kind of go east to west. But when you take a look at, the detailed grading, this area here is kind of the highest point in this general location. So it does break just so slightly to this jurisdictional wetland area there. So we're taking advantage of, some of that localized grading, but and trying to capture that runoff and treat it outside of the shoreline protection zone. So we're kind of forcing that a little bit, but at the same time, it's a good design because we're managing those buffers and keeping areas undisturbed appropriately.
Okay. Will you be building up some of that area where you'll be putting those condominiums in? Is that what you're saying?
Yes, so this back corner of the site here on this duplex, it's a good question, is in a fill right here. So we're kind of lifting that back corner up, which allows us to tip it in this direction. Yeah. That's probably what you were asking in the beginning, and I didn't quite catch it.
Kind of. And I have one other question on that road. For emergency vehicle or access, doesn't that have to be 20 feet wide? And I think something I read said it was opened up to 15. That's your proposal?
Yeah, so we're proposing basically a 12-foot wide paved surface with shoulders. But what we did is we added a pull-off in here to address any conflicts with emergency response vehicles and stuff like that. So 20 foot wide is a requirement typically for larger developments. It's an NFPA standard, but normally common driveways and kind of smaller scale development, we try to fit them in around the existing features. And that's what we're really trying to accomplish here, is to reduce that footprint. But we did add a pull-off to address some concerns relative to emergency vehicles, and that's normally an alternative to making your road wider the whole length.
So you're saying that two cars can pass each other on this road?
They technically could pass using the shoulders.
Okay.
Yeah. It's very flat along here, so if you look at the topography, it's similar to if you think about a normal residential driveway that doesn't have ditches or things of that nature, and you might have a green area adjacent to your driveway. You can definitely pull off when need be to let a car pass, and so I don't see this as a safety issue or anything. I think it's a good design that tries to fit in with the natural character.
No other questions on the drainage?
Sorry, thank you.
Yeah.
Are you finished with your presentation then? Was that it?
I don't remember where I left off, but so I guess just touching on some highs, we do have a lighting plan included in the plan set, and generally speaking, we're just proposing some wall sconces, like decorative lighting out in front of the units. I mean, this is a very small development. There's really no need to have large, lighting. Again, we don't want, there to be this light in the middle of the woods. I think anybody who wants to live here is really looking for a nice rural setting, but we do provide that to meet, the requirements. For our utilities, this will be serviced by an on-site well, which is will be situated on the north side of the most westerly duplex. And then we are proposing underground electric that'll be servicing the development. The proposed leach field is situated on the south side of the duplex area, the duplexes. So there will be a septic tank on the south side of each unit, which will tie together and go to this leach field area. That's been sized appropriately based on the soil conditions that are, out there. We're hoping that to handle that as a condition of approval, if possible. Water would come, or the well would tie into this duplex here, and then ultimately there'd be a line that would connect over to the adjacent duplex as well. So there'd be one well servicing both buildings, which is allowed because it's a very small development. You're allowed to service up to 8 homes or 25 people with a well, just to let you know. And that's the threshold. Anything over that, you need to file for a community water system with the state. The septic approval that we submit to the New Hampshire Department of Environmental Services will include the well siting, so they ultimately approve that setbacks from the well, things of that nature with that submission.
A question on those utilities. Is there a future plan by this property owner to develop the adjacent property and tie into
Oh, that's a great question. So
septic system or?
there's no future plan. In fact, this property to the south already has electric out to it. He's developed that. And so we're going to be coming off of, there's a utility pole out here. We're going to be coming off of that last pole with underground electric to this site, which will prevent, a long run into this property. And he has reviewed that with the utility company, and they are fine with that connection.
But no intention to share the well or the septic?
No,
adjacent? Okay.
no. Just the electric is coming from there, which I suspect might have led to your question. This is a single-family home on the south side here.
The fire department sent us a note that they're concerned about the 12-foot wide driveway.
Yeah, we did get a copy of that email, and that's why we added the pull-off. And we're certainly happy to work with Mr. Mattson on, getting his sign-off with the pull-off design, because I don't think he followed up with the board on anything.
I would actually suggest that as a condition.
And that would be fine. Yep.
I have another question. Has this soil been tested? And the reason I ask is Mr. Bell used it for septage application. We
did do a test pit and did the soil testing for the septic area on the site. And the test pit and the results of that were fine.
Well, that's not what I'm asking really. I'm asking about contamination.
So this is an existing subdivision that we're proposing the development on. So this is one of many lots that have been approved and built on. I'm not, I don't have any documentation of there being any issues, and from our research, and the state did approve, I believe has approved septic systems on these lots.
Yeah,
So,
again, I'm not asking about, I know from helping a farmer friend pick stones off of the section that was paid there that there were many objects that shouldn't be flushed. It was pretty dense. Obviously, there had been a lot of septic applied to that lot, that tract when Mr. Bell owned it. And I don't know what the state requires for that kind of Afterwards, does there need to be any kind of monitoring for pathogens in the soil or anything like that? I just don't know.
Was that lagoons or land application you're talking about? Land application, and that was raw sewage?
Yes.
Land application,
Well,
they
it
put
was
it
not
there?
sewage, it was septic.
Septic, oh, okay,
We had
septic.
lagoons, and then
Yeah, I knew we had-
after would solidify them, we would. put it
You
on
would-
the-
Land apply the land, yeah.
Right, and the hay field was really over on this property out in the back. I think there's a pretty significant common driveway that went out to this back area. And I've heard, what the history of this is, but there is nothing that I've come across that it's not a ongoing monitoring site or anything of that nature. I think that when the state, addressed that, which was, I believe, many years ago, they closed it out because I haven't found anything that's active. And there's a database on the state's GIS that would typically come up on.
Okay, just so long as the property owner knows and, is kind
Yeah.
of stuff, because you don't want to make people sick. I don't know if it can, but.
Well, I'm sure the well will be tested once it's drilled.
Yes,
Right.
yeah.
The
I mean,
water is going to be tested in the well once they drill that.
Has to meet drinking
Yeah,
water standards. Yeah.
so that should clear that up, I would think.
What is the length of that
You can speak
driveway?
to
Sure, no, that's a great question. So it's 540 feet to this intersection right here. So you get the pull off here, which is not quite halfway, just because we actually put that in the location, and I'll get to the grading plan here. It's very, very flat, and the topography is really favorable right there. And so we wanted to put it in that location there, which kind of splits up that run a little bit. When I meet with Eric or the fire department and make sure they're happy with it, I mean, worst case, I could imagine they would maybe ask us to add another one on the front side, and the topography would allow for that if they wanted something like that.
Well, my concern is it's a long run with only one pull-off. And if you get beyond that little curve there and you have an emergency vehicle coming up, one, you got a long way to back up, and if it's the guy uphill, he's got to back up and, through that curve.
Yeah, I mean, so if you're at this point, you're probably talking, maybe 250 feet. It's not.
What are the shoulders going to look like? I mean,
Yeah.
that's flat in there, isn't
It's
it?
very flat on both sides of the road. There's no drainage ditch, like the topography
drop
just
off.
kind of feathers off. So although the roadway is kind of the paved, hard defined surface, certainly the topography would allow for somebody to pull off anywhere along that length. We're just formalizing it, in one spot, but.
So it's not dangerous to pull off of there. You could pull off, you might get stuck, but you could pull off of there and let
You
an
could
emergency.
pull off, and I mean,
Yeah.
if somebody's coming
So-
up there with an ambulance, you're gonna pull off.
Yep.
And, maybe you get stuck, I'd be surprised if you did, just because the topography is pretty favorable.
Yeah.
How much of an angle, when you put the road, where the road is there, how much of an angle to keep the water off the road so you don't ruin your road?
So the cross slope on a driveway is generally like 2%. So when you go,
So you'd still be able to
it's a
pull.
tenth. I mean, it's that much over the basically the half of the driveway, or the 10 feet of the driveway, that much. So it's going to feel flat in a vehicle, certainly. And now the existing topography falls off a little bit more, but you might be talking a half a foot, 6 inches in 10 or so feet. I mean, it's pretty flat. And so again, very traversable. I mean, generally speaking, roadside design standards, anything over a 3-to-1 slope is considered unrecoverable. It's where you start getting into like guardrail situations, and that's for people leaving a road. That's steep compared to this. I mean, that's 33%, which would be that grade. So this is, and again, we're talking, just 4 homes, nice setting. The goal was to not have, there's a lot of nice mature trees that are along this driveway, and the goal was to not have to, cut all those down. Could it be done? Absolutely. But the client would prefer, not to, and to have this nice kind of rolling driveway in there. So my preference would be, and I hope the board would consider this, would be to allow us to get a favorable letter from the fire department, and if they want to have one more pull-off, we'd be happy to, whatever we need to do to get get them to sign off. And I think it's important to say that the email from the fire department didn't say no. I think it just said there is some concerns, and typically they would like to see 20 feet. Well, yeah, but driveways are never 20 feet wide. Common driveways are never 20 feet wide. Normally they're 14, to 16, which is where we came up with, 12 foot with a shoulder.
Could I add to the comments from fire? The 20 feet was in reference to if the driveway were not to be paved, and the plans do indicate that the applicant wishes to pave the driveway.
Thank you.
So I don't know if
Yeah, I just wanted to
If that came through in the email.
I'm happy with that.
You had something on the water too, or that was about?
Yeah, on the water, the state has stopped monitoring I'll call it the Bell property, because the larger property before it was subdivided, I think they stopped monitoring it maybe in 2009 because it passed whatever that threshold was for remediation, restoration, and whatnot. And we have complete files on that at Town Hall if you want to review them.
I just want to know that it's okay.
Yeah.
Thank you for that.
Thanks. Floor is yours again.
Yeah, I think that's all that I have. Obviously, try to answer any questions that you guys continue to have in the review.
Just the drainage on the southern part of the property. I know there's not a swale or anything there, but I remember reading the drainage engineering on the drainage. There is some drainage going on down that backside there. Is it just a swale to slow it down or something? It talked about drainage, the original conditions about it draining onto the adjacent property, and your engineering report showed that less of it drains onto the adjoining property. I'm just wondering how that is. Is it because you're sloping it the other way, or is it you've got swales there or something?
Well, it's because we're proposing an infiltration basin. So the infiltration, all the watershed area that's going to this basin, this infiltration basin basically gets taken out of the equation. So even though we're improving this area, we're capturing it and infiltrating it. So that's not having an impact on any of the surrounding areas. So what does that mean? It means there's actually a little bit less of a watershed that drains in that direction, so you get a slight reduction.
Okay, that's how it is. I
Yep.
didn't see it on the plans how you did it, but I get it now. Yeah, that's how you do it. Okay.
And you're sizing this for a 50-year storm event, and that's over 24 hours? Is that what you think about that?
I think it's like 5.5 inches or something like that
Yes.
per hour.
So
It's in the engineering.
So we design it for a 2, 10, and 50-year analysis, which meets, and I believe it might exceed the local standards, but that is what we model it for.
And just for my information, when you say a 50, what is the duration?
It's a 24-hour period.
Okay.
Yeah.
And we have the engineering stuff. I don't know if you got it in your copy, but we have the whole engineering on that.
Okay.
And it shows the time, and it shows the depth of water it would be, and it shows a lot. It shows, well, in some of our workshops, we're going to go over some of that stuff to look at that and know how to read that stuff. But it's pretty interesting. But
That's the report that everybody wants to cut out of
it's like
the document, because it's about 100 pages long every time.
It is, yeah. But it does show that stuff, and it is interesting to
Just
know.
on the summary page, a type 3 storm, which is the zone that we're in the United States, and then it's a 24-hour, 50-year rainfall event, which has an intensity of runoff of 5.81 inches.
I'm twitchy about that because I also own property on the South Branch, and it's a pasture, and we're getting really big rainfall events, and a lot of my pastures ending up under water, like with white caps on the water, so.
Yeah, so that's really a flood. I mean, you're along it's basically a flood way. So
Right.
you're getting it. But the nice part about this design is infiltration mitigates and puts water back into the ground. So you're getting a reduction in sheet flow, whereas some designs are detention or stormwater metering, which is you're collecting and trying to meter the runoff out. And if you get 100 year storms or larger, everything has to go out eventually. So you meter it out over time. But this is this is a system that will get rid of, that flow on site, uses, some of the good soils on site that are available. And that's really a function of, trying to position things appropriately on the landscape.
And you have enough elevation above the stream bank, so it's.
Oh, yeah,
Okay,
the stream is way down. These are actually 1 foot contours, but we're up around elevation like 486. And the river bank is down around 465-ish.
20 feet.
20 feet, yeah, quite a lot of elevation.
Excuse me. I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, you're fine.
Where is your garbage collection area?
So, typically, facilities like this, they would utilize the garage and the transfer station. Because it's a nice homeowners. Yeah, you don't, so maintenance, normally if you get in a smaller development like this, we try to stay away from trash collection because everybody has to agree, to kind of contribute towards that. Whereas, where Julius will be talking about some nice transfer station upgrades, later on, this would be, they have the room with the garage space and everything to have the trash barrels and be able to do their own management of trash.
The other thing, where's your snow removal storage area going to be?
So snow removal storage would be, along, well, I guess we can go on here. It would be off the end here. And then certainly, there's areas along the end here that could, it could go. And then this is a driveway, right? So you're going to be just peeling that off the travel surface and off the side. Just like, there's an existing roadway here, so that's how that would be maintained at any time.
Isn't that where your leach field is still?
Leach field is off into the distant over here.
Okay.
Yep.
Any other questions?
To that point about snow removal, I didn't see bollards protecting the propane tanks. Is that?
They're buried between the buildings, aren't they? Yeah. So they couldn't go in there with a plow, probably.
Yeah, I think the plan was to bury, yeah, that says buried.
They're buried, but still,
Still,
there's something sticking up.
Yeah.
somebody comes in and plows and we're gonna put the snow, they might.
Yeah,
wear it off.
they are distance off, but we'd be happy to add a bollard. I think it's a good idea. Yeah. We'd be happy to do that. So, what I would like to say is a bollard or maybe a landscape stone or something. Some kind of a barrier.
Right.
Any other questions? All right, no other questions. Are there any things that we see on there that might bring them back for a compliance hearing? The bollards probably aren't. That's pretty small, and the land use department can see something like that, whether it's on the.
If it's just an administrative thing.
Yeah, that has, right, the board doesn't have any influence over that, so that's administrative as well. And let's see, what else do we have? A septic tank design being approved, that has nothing to do with us either. So if there's nothing that you can think of that would require a compliance hearing, then I'll close this public hearing and we can deliberate on that. Any objection to that?
Anybody on Zoom?
Anybody on Zoom, yeah, wanting a question? Guess not, so I will close the public hearing. And let's talk about it. We have a few conditions here, if we approve it. Condition number 1 being that the septic design is approved. I think that's a state approval. Fire department signs off on the road and add protection for the gas stubs on both propane gas tanks.
Indicate where the snow storage is. I know it's going to be pushed off at the end of the place, but
And just put on there for snow storage on the plan.
just to show it on the plan.
Okay.
And that we've done that pretty much with everybody else.
We have, yep. Anything else that anybody can think of? If not, be looking for a motion to approve with those conditions that I just, okay, a motion by Michael York to approve with the following conditions: a septic design approval, correct? Fire department sign off on the road, correct? Add protection for the gas tanks,
Yeah.
correct? And indicate on the plan snow storage.
Correct.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Richard Lane. Is there any further discussion? Then all those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed?
Thank you very much.
And okay, yeah, and the conditions can be done in the land use office when you get them. Okay. Okay, now. Next item up is Planning Board Site Plan Review. Town of Swanzey requests a site plan review to construct an addition to the recycling center at 97 Pine Street. This application is subject to RSA 674:54, which is a government use of land. Subject property is shown at tax map 57, lot 125, and is located in the business district. And upon finding that the app meets the submission requirements of the site plan review regulations, the board will vote to accept the application as complete. And public hearing may follow immediately or will be scheduled time and date certain. And I guess our representative is our one and only Julius Peel.
That's right.
Correct? Okay.
Now, if you don't mind, actually, could we switch this with the Richardson Park? And the reason why I ask is we have staff here from the Recreation Department that want to speak on that. You know, get them out of here sooner. They're over Zoom though, so.
Okay.
Is that okay with the board?
Is that okay with the board? Okay, then I will change that, scratch that one, and the next up actually is Planning Board number 23-008, and that is the site plan review. Town of Swanzey requests site plan review for improvements to Richardson Park, including construction of the new bathhouse at 60 East Shore Road. This application is subject to RSA 674:54, once again, government land, use of land. Subject property is shown at tax map 45, lot 15, and is located in the business district. Upon a finding that the application meets the submission requirements of the site plan review regulations, the board will vote to accept the application as complete, and a public hearing may follow immediately or will be scheduled for a time and date certain. And you are making that presentation, Julius?
Yes, I will.
Okay.
Am I lucky enough to say I have the engineer here for that as well? But so I think where I want to start with this, actually, I'm going to grab my sheet that I prepared for myself, is the town is proposing.
Let's just start with completeness of the application, then we'll go to public hearing.
Do you want to start with that?
Yep. And let's see. I don't know if anyone or everyone has seen that drawing, maybe not.
So this drawing right here, it should be in your packet as well. It is a full-size one. I can put it on the table afterwards, so it's a little easier.
So just run down the list for anyone who hasn't seen it then.
Yeah, so I guess starting from point one, name and address. Obviously, you can see it here on the plan set on the corner. Tax map and lots, also located on the side here as well. North arrow written with graphics, name and address of the plat owner, and also include the vicinity sketch also on the plan set as well. Name and address all the abutting landowners and mailed accordingly, well, I guess by us here in the land use office. Physical features and use of land within the 200 feet of the site. You can notice that here, mapped along sides. Perimeter boundary lines and lot area in square feet. Also continue on there. Shape, size, height, location of the existing structures on the site and those that are proposed. So you'll notice on the plan set right here, getting to the meat of this, this is actually the proposed, the existing clubhouse. The actual proposed structure, which is a bathhouse, is located right here on the side as well. There's also the proposed walkway, which reaches the structure right here, and also some of the corrective attachments right here for what is already an existing roadway stretch that goes down to the lakehead. Do you want to move it over there so you can see as well? Or?
You don't happen to have an extra packet, do you? So I just want to look at the map.
Yes, I do.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
So the location names and width of any existing or the proposed roadways, East Shore Road, you'll notice here is in this bottom corner. If you're trying to orientate yourself to the where you're at currently, you'll notice that there's actually the wood split rail fence that you see as you drive by is located right here. There's a gate that goes across there. Usually the police are the ones to lock that on a regular basis. This is the parking area, and then the other gate that's up here is the one that heads down toward the beachfront. It slopes downwards in case you haven't been there in that sense. Identifying of access of the site to public streets. Obviously this right here. Location and the number of parking spaces. So there's 46 parking spaces currently. Obviously if you have them right up here, right there, there's also a couple hidden ones up here in the corner. And then the handicap are right there as well. Location type, natural type and nature of all existing proposed lightings. So there's no new external lighting proposed for this structure on the outside right here. It's going to be operated during the day. Obviously there'll be some internal lighting because there are bathrooms, but otherwise than that, there won't be any for the exterior sides. Nature features such as water bodies. You'll notice that we have what is here, Swanzey Lake. Existing proposed grades and topographic contours at 5-foot intervals. Notice them right here. Size and accurate location of all existing fire ponds, mains, culverts, fire hydrants, and so on. And I think that probably the best way for us to notice some of those, looking along East Shore or even going in, if there's going to be any existing features for that, to be over there, or any of the water systems along this side. Means of providing the water supply. The well is located in the top corner right here. So this feature is right there. Surface drainage patterns, which as we'll probably get into a little bit more in depth, you notice there's a couple of different ways we're trying to catch it. Because the structure being proposed is right here, some of it will exit off the top of the building this direction, southward. It will be caught, wrapped around, or if it's on the north side, caught, wrapped around this way. Or even if it's going along the actual roadway that goes down towards the lake, this piece right here is it's going to be the catch basins. As you might actually recognize if you go down there now, there's 3 little small holes that have been shooting right out onto the beachfront. That's what's actually been eroding. So the hope is actually to avoid that system and be able to actually be caught right here in the rain garden. Copy of certificates of licensed septic designer, location type of proposed sewage and septic. Then we have our sewage system right here. Access to it goes along this pathway right there. Soil surveys, that's with our permits. Location of any existing proposed easements, and then architectural plans, which the architectural plans are in this packet as well. So,
well, couldn't trip him up. He knows that drawing.
Only sweating a little bit. So,
no landscape plan, right?
For this one, no.
Okay.
What we did was when we had asked about it, what we had done is we actually made a combination of the sorts. So you'll notice if you had gone down there and looked at it yourself, these trees are actually kind of, I'd say, sprinkled throughout this lot. And so what we're doing is we're not removing any of the existing features, the soil or the trees. We're actually going to relocate them into places that will need them. So as we're leveling out this region, that soil will be used to either compact right here, and all the trees from there will be relocated to these locations.
All righty.
I believe there's spruce trees.
So, looks like the application is complete.
So move.
Motion by Michael York to accept the application is complete, seconded by Brandon Self. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? Okay, we'll move on to the public hearing. I will open up the public hearing and just give us some more details of what we're doing there.
Yeah, so the actual structure itself right here, the bathrooms is it's a 682 square feet bathroom. It's located on this, I'd say western side of this particular lot. It is going to have 5 different bathrooms, 3 of which are going to be smaller in size, mainly meant for either single changing rooms or intended primarily for single use. There is also going to be 2 larger changing rooms. One's be used for family, but they're also ADA accessible as well. And that's the biggest part of this actual ramp as it heads its way up. It doesn't go beyond this 5% grade because the intent is that if you need a wheelchair, easier access, you can go up that graded walkway. So I think really, and why we'd asked to have Ashley here, the recreation directors, we should probably talk about what brought us here to this point in the first place. and why we're proposing it. So I don't know if the board's okay if we transition to that. She'll tell us a little bit about the needs of the system, and then I'll go more into about what the actual pieces.
That's fine with me. The rest of the board members, okay? See how we got here? Okay.
So I'm putting her on the spot. Ashley, are you ready?
I am. I've been ready.
Okay.
So when I took on the job in 2020, I came to the camp for our 2021 season. Our bathrooms have not been touched that were located at Richardson Park since probably the mid-90s when I attended camp there. So I'd asked to spruce them up, led us to find out that they had some issues within them that just were not going to be able to be met by us, which kind of has led us more to using our porta potties for the last 2 years. We're bringing in 4 porta potties to meet the public and the camp's need for the last 2 years. Those get emptied once a week. So by Thursday in 90-degree heat, I got campers who do not even want to go near a porta potty. The idea of just having a flushing potty on site would be a huge, huge effect. We service 60 to 70 kids a week for 8 weeks out of the summer, not including the 150 campers that usually rotate through for Beyond the Bell for their 5 weeks when they have rented the beach. And they do provide us with a payment for renting the beach for that time frame. That's not even including any public use on the weekdays or weekends. On top of that, it also provides a huge impact of drinkable running water, which we do not have access to right now. We have to ship in water to camp to provide water for the campers to drink throughout the week. And if we are to miss a shipment or if something is to happen, we are then scrambling to provide just the basic necessity of drinkable water for these kids throughout the week, let alone staff just having the basic necessities while they're there on the weekends and lifeguarding and things like that.
Okay, thank you. That's how we got here. Now, Julius, just...
Yep, and so I'll just kind of jump right back in and talk a little bit more about what else is being proposed, but really that puts a pin into why we even got here inside. You've probably heard a couple of these, different presentations. But anyways, what we're going to have here, septic system down on this side. We did propose in a 4-square and replacement of the fencing around the edges here as the fencing is starting to degrade. 4 squares is a little sport for the kids to use, primarily because there is a lot of parking spaces and we seldom fill all of them. And so you would say typically like main campers might park along this side along here, and then maybe some of the other visitors might take this side or this side right here. Parking isn't an issue with this site. Typically there's more than enough. So that's why we're making that conversion right here, adding that fencing right here, making sure that we do have the handicap parking pathway, again, handicap accessible up to the site here. Drainage is intended to catch, like I had said earlier, right down here at this rain garden. The rain garden is proposed with the size that's not too tall with any of the features put into it, so that Ashley, who might be working up on the upper side of this hill, can still see, or her or any of the employees, can see down here to the lake. The whole goal of this is that as this water has been flowing down the side here, it actually has a place to catch. It catches into this and then is dispersed accordingly, rather than hitting onto the actual lakefront, taking the sand and silt, dropping it into the lake, and then we have to continuously pay some way to repair the beachhead accordingly. So a lot of ways, there's a lot of benefits to, I'd say, the environment in this case, because we're controlling substantial amounts of water that is just flowing down, and we're also providing a dedicated bathroom for residents that are using this place consistently. So that's overall our presentation, I think. We don't plan on making any changes, to the building that is existing there currently. We might utilize those spaces right now in terms of a storage afterwards, the bathrooms, just because they're not operational right now. They're operated through some pump system that isn't working in this sense. We do plan on having a shut-off for the site, and it will be shut off at the end of the season, so it will obviously only be operated during the actual time that the beach is open. The other thing is, I think that's probably the majority of the information I could throw at you all at once right now, so I'm open to questions.
Okay. Anybody have questions?
No.
Jane?
Just curious, did I hear her say that the beach is rented to campers?
Yes, so there is a, I guess maybe Ashley, you want to speak about how the beach might potentially be rented to your camping group?
So what we have is we have an agreement with Beyond the Bell, where Beyond the Bell pays us $100 a day during their 5 weeks, so that we provide a lifeguard and a section for them to swim in. It does not impact the beachgoers or our camp itself. It's a whole separate little section that we give them. And it also helps us at least generate a little bit of revenue towards mainly what it was at first was the beach erosion to deal with and things like that.
Thank you.
Yeah, during that rent, it's not entirely closed. It's obviously, like you said, a section of the beach that we dedicate towards them to utilize.
And it just really provides more of an opportunity for children in the area to have access to water, since Beyond the Bell is at the school without a facility of the sort.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions?
Is there a contract that's drawn up for that?
I do not know. Is there a contract?
It's something we do each year depending on where their program stands. We did it the last 2 years. I have not heard from them if they plan on doing it even at all again this year. It's just, it was an influx of people that we were dealing with that were using the porta potties at that time as well.
Okay, thank you.
Now, once you're in the water, is there a demarcation between the public area and the rental area? Is there is there a rope or something that goes across?
Well, literally the counselors make a circle around their campers for their camp. And they're over or at a far end of the swimming area where it's like where people would pull in a kayak.
Okay.
Remember, is that the south end of the beach area?
It's the complete opposite end of where our summer camp is.
Again, is that at the south end of it or to the north side of it?
I'm not quite sure which direction it would be. I know our camp swims past the pavilion towards Swanzey Lake Campground, and they swim towards the residential area next to the camp up the road. Yes.
So it's north, so.
Yep.
And they're there from noon to 3 in the afternoon, which usually has no impact on the public.
During weekdays or weekends, or how does that work?
Just the weekdays. It's during their camp hours, Monday through Friday, just 5 weeks during the summer.
Okay.
And I'm not even sure if we're going to run that again this year. It's just well to have the facilities available if that was proposed again this year.
Thank you. Anybody else have any comments on the site plan?
I will share that the impact of porta potties has led to me to clean bodily fluids out of the lake way too many times in the last 2 years than I enjoy to say.
Thank you for sharing that.
Flushable potties for young children are huge.
Yep, I guess so. Okay, anything else about the site plan here? Looks like they've got it pretty well covered out. It's a nice plan. I looked it all over the other day at Town Hall. Looks pretty good. They've addressed a lot of issues there, drainage being one of them, washing out the beach. It won't be happening anymore with that little swale, or you call it a rain area down in there. That'll be pretty good. And the bathrooms, new leaching field, new septic system. Looks pretty good.
We've needed for a lot of years.
Yeah, it's a good investment to have it down there. Yeah, the bathrooms look good, they're roomy and stuff. There's a rinse area on the end of it there to rinse off. See, anything else I missed on there, Julius?
No, I think it's a lot for a little, but it means a lot to, I think, to residents and to the users.
And you're widening the road that goes down there too, right, for emergency vehicles? Did I read that someplace?
Yeah, so the goal right there is to add that to essentially, not necessarily this particular plan, but to correct this area so that it is, because it's caving in on the sides of it, it's starting to wash itself out. Whenever we correct the water flow going down this direction right here, it'll shore up that side and have it travel along the edge rather than all on top. So yes, it will be. It's just the proposal is to get primarily this and that established first.
Yeah, good. Looks like a good plan. What were you saying before about the trees? You're going to remove some and put them back, or something like that? You said.
Yeah. So there, I think actually right where this building is, and it might be able to correct me if I'm wrong, but I think there's some exact or currently sitting right on that building, so we're going to move them actually up to the front here.
Yeah. Okay. Great.
So that means you got that around by the roots and everything.
I think that's the plan.
You got to take the roots with them.
They're really young.
Young, like they'll transplant fine there.
Small trees.
Yeah, you can transplant big ones.
My mind is thinking about the big pine tree down there.
Yeah, not quite. No.
That'll probably stay there.
Yeah, those actually are more up this way.
Now, don't be a wise guy. Okay, anybody else have anything on this? Any questions?
Yeah. Kai Affeldecker, 42 East Shore Road. I'm on a butter, so I got a registered letter in the mail. I wanted to see what the proposal was. I could tell by this map, but not by this map.
Excuse me, could I have your last name, Kai? Sorry.
Daffeldecker, D-A-F-E-L, Decker, D-E-C-K-E-R,
Thank you.
42 East Shore Road.
Thank you.
One of the questions I have, which will lead me to the next question, is on the bathhouse, will there be any outdoor lighting?
No, so there's no intended plan right now for outdoor lighting on the structure.
Okay.
I know there is some currently on this structure right here, and so we don't plan on addressing those now currently, but I think that's to come, I think.
Yeah, there is outdoor lighting on this structure here now with these special gas bulbs. I don't know if I don't think they call them a halogen bulb, but it's year round. And I am on the other side of the lake also, quite often, and that light is running 24/7, 365. And to me, it's light pollution. So it'd be great if they could put any of the lights on the existing structure on some kind of motion sensor. It would save energy. It doesn't do really any benefit besides, for security, the police would like it, but if you have a motion sensor, then if somebody comes down to the property, it will go off. To have that light on 24 hours a day kind of ruins looking at the stars or anything, because it's just shining all the time. You're out on the lake, I'm also a boater. I could be out on the lake at midnight, and that thing is lit up like a candle. I'm not saying everybody feels like that, but that's
a good suggestion.
Good suggestion, but would that be more to go to the select board and ask them?
Well, the planning board can recommend that. I mean, they're just looking for recommendations anyways. Anything we say, they don't have to do. They could just throw it in the garbage can if they want, but it's a good suggestion. And they put motion lights right on this building right behind Whitcomb Hall here.
New LED
They work fine. LEDs, yeah,
they
they are.
don't need this expensive bulb or too expensive bulbs running 365 days a year, non-stop. I mean, and they do soak up electricity, because at one time I owned a commercial building and I got rid of them. I saw the meter spin.
Well, I think it's also good that we can follow our lighting plan as well with the new ones that we replace, so they'll aim their way downwards instead of going outwards, which will affect you.
Yeah.
So if you're amenable to proposing that, then I think that we could even do that because I know, like you said, there's one on this side, and I guess there was one on that side
Yeah,
as well.
there's one right on the lake.
So,
right? I don't want to, there's one on the back side and there's one on this side.
Yeah, well, we can,
absolutely.
we can definitely make that as a recommendation.
With motions and LEDs, I don't see why these old dinosaur lighting fixtures can't be replaced.
Yeah, good recommendation. Other questions?
All right.
You have other questions?
Yeah, I'm assuming all the rules for the park are gonna stay the same, as far as, the hours of operation, the gate being locked, and then the opening of the season from Memorial Day to Labor Day. That's my general overview on that.
Will that change, Julius?
There's no
Same thing.
anticipation to change that, no.
Okay.
Absolutely not. We don't have staff.
Thank you.
And also, to see some improvements being made like this will greatly help the lake, because they have a major water flow issue running into the lake, down the existing driveway, with the sand and everything that's in its path on these torrential downpours. It does make a mess. So this is great to see. The next thought is, will they do any repaving of the existing upper parking lot, or part of it?
This is not part of that plan. I do think that there is a plan at some point to repair it, but that's speculation at this point.
Okay.
I think we want to tackle, because this right here is already going to be a substantial cost, just doing this section.
Right.
So we'll tackle this one, and if there's a need or via additional funds, we can tackle the rest, but.
Okay. Nope, that's it for now. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for your
I have a
comments.
question. How far is it from the existing building to the lake?
Grandfather clause in.
No, I'm curious because I have a follow-up question.
I'm not sure how I would measure that.
I think Mr. Brennan probably has a scale.
Put it this way.
He's got a scale with
I was
him.
going to say that.
Yeah.
I appreciate it.
If we put motion detectors on that building,
Would the lake set it off? Is that what you're thinking?
will the lake, the birds, or, whatnot, be setting that on and off all night?
You can adjust that though.
Yeah, you can. Yeah, sensitivity
especially if it's
definitely is
slanted
adjustable.
I
downwards.
have them on my barns and stuff.
Yep.
90
Yeah, but you don't have boats going by.
How far was it?
90 feet.
90 feet.
Next time I know to bring a
But in
scale.
front of this,
Bears and coyotes and stuff.
excuse me for interrupting, in front of this structure, they have a whole roped off area here where boats can't even go. Probably, I'm gonna guess, at least 75 feet to the shore. That extends it out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I forget the distance, but when you're on a boat, as you know, if you row in a boat, you can't go any so close to a swimming area per se. So they can't, they should be boats there. I think it's 100 feet, but I'm not sure.
And still, we're talking about nighttime anyways, and
Well,
they'd have to run into those ropes out there.
People go out there horn pounding.
Yeah, they'd have to hit those ropes before they get into that area there.
It's come a long ways fishing at 4 AM, 3
Yeah.
AM, 2 AM. People are out there.
There's a lot of horn pounding in that place now.
Yeah, things have
It
changed.
doesn't get reclaimed anymore for trout, so.
Okay, any other questions about the site plan? Steve, that was 90 feet, Steve, you heard that
Okay.
so far, what? Okay.
So I was just wondering
Yep.
distance and motion detectors.
What's the next process after this?
Well, the process here is that the planning board will close a public hearing and we'll vote to recommend it with recommendations, probably with the outside lights. And then it just goes to the selectmen and they decide whether the planning board has a good point or not. Because this isn't binding because it's a town project, not binding, but they're pretty good. I imagine they will take that suggestion. And then they will go with the project, correct?
Right. I think that there's still a motion to accept and approve that still is underway, but then after that, I think that's the next step.
Will there be another meeting on this, or this is this will be
Not with the planning board, yep.
the selectmen? Okay. So I'll also get notice on that, because I'm in a butter.
I don't know that you will. I don't think you will.
Hearing will just be part of our agenda.
So just watch the agenda on the
So this is the important
website.
meeting to make a comment.
It is, yes.
Okay.
This is the one.
If you think of it, just send them to me as well. I can give you my card afterwards and send those emails to me and I can forward them along to them. So.
If I wanted to what?
Oh, so if you have any comments that come to you later on when you're driving home, you can just send them to me and I can forward them along.
Yeah, I don't think we got it. Doesn't hurt, right?
Yeah.
And any donations.
Absolutely.
I can't take donations in front of him.
You can take that out of the tax bills, right?
Okay.
Okay, I think we've pretty much wrapped this one up here. If we have, then I'm going to close the public hearing. Then the public hearing is closed. Deliberation had for motion detection lights on that existing building. That was a pretty good recommendation. Other than that, I can't think of anything that they've missed on the site. Anybody else? Looks like a pretty nice improvement down there. So then a motion just to recommend to the selectmen that they consider motion detection LED outside lights on the existing building.
About the LED lights, though, I mean, some of them are pretty darn bright.
They are bright.
They're complaining about a little bit of light that.
Well, they can,
Aim them straight
and
down.
there are a lot of different types of lights, the cutoff type lights.
If you have the motion detectors, that's where the police, if something happens down there, they want to see everything. So you want something really bright.
Yeah, but not too bright, because that's the problem the guy was having down there.
Well, if you have motion detectors on, they're not going to go on unless.
Yeah, but you'd be blinking on.
C-130 in there.
So we'll put that as a recommendation then. We need a motion for that recommendation. Steve? Yep.
Conditions. The lights that are there, are those the type of lights that take time to warm up and turn on? Or they just pop right on?
They may be, he said they were gas, so they might be Well, yeah, if they're on all the time, right, we wouldn't know. Yeah.
Because if they have to warm up a motion detector, doesn't do any good.
Well, no, they'd be changing the whole fixture.
Okay.
They'd change the whole fixture on that.
Besides the cost of coming out of your tax.
Hey, I don't pay taxes, I don't pay taxes, I live in the apartment.
I don't know how it is. Julius can answer that after we're done. We need a motion here to make that recommendation. Motion by Michael York to recommend to the selectmen to put in motion detector lights and take off the existing outdoor lights on the existing building. Seconded by Brandon himself. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? And yeah, he's abstaining. Julius?
We good?
Yeah, we just made the recommendation. What's the finance? How's it being financed, is what Steve asked.
So this
No, Richard asked. Richard asked that.
This project and actually the next project are proposed to utilize ARPA funds to pay for a portion of the cost. That along with some money that is set aside in expendable trust funds as well. The next project, which is the transfer station, the recycling center project, I just finished applying for a grant for that one as well. So if I get the grant for the recycling center, that gives us additional funds that we can utilize towards this one. If we don't, then it'll be split basically evenly.
So it doesn't have to be warned on the town warrant?
Correct.
Next year or anything like that?
Tax neutral, yep.
Yeah, okay.
Both projects. One might be even more tax neutral if I get the grant, but we'll see. I don't want to brag too much until I get it.
I'll be looking for you.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Next up is,
Mr. Chairman,
yes.
has there been an approval of the site plan? I didn't hear a vote on that.
Oh, yeah, we did a vote there, and let's see, Michael York, the motion was to approve with recommendations, and the recommendation was to put motion-detected outside lights on the existing building and remove the existing ones.
I understand. I thought, it sounded to me as though the motion was just about the lights, and I didn't hear about the approval of the site plan, but I understand now.
I might not have said that, and if I didn't, I'm glad you caught it, but that's what the motion was about.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Beverly. Okay, the next one is, let's see, where are we here? It would be the recycling center, yeah. Planning Board 23007, site plan review. Town of Swanzey requests a site plan review to construct an addition to the recycling center at 97 Pine Street. This application is subject to RSA 674:54, government use of land. Subject property is shown at tax map 57, lot 125, and is located in the business district. Upon a finding that the application meets the submission requirements of the site plan review regulations, the board will vote to accept the application as complete, and a public hearing may follow immediately or will be scheduled for a time and date certain. And Julius, I think you're up again.
I am.
Okay.
So actually, these ones people might like to thumb through a bit more. I did print out some 11 by 17s. I got 3, so you have to share. So I'm gonna pass that around. You might have seen this a couple times.
And do you have a general site drawing of that?
Yes, I don't have a full site. Those are the full site plans. This is the architecturals. I brought the full architecturals because they seem to be the most, probably the most thrilling. See if I got a better floor plan.
Just so that we can go over the completeness of the application and get that out of the way.
Yeah.
And move on to a public hearing. If you want to use one of these, oh no, this isn't yours, right here.
Yeah.
That's the wrong place. It's at the lake though, but it's
I think we're gonna have to work off those 11 by 17s because it's the most complete version.
okay, that's fine.
So this project is the, well, let me just grab my list here again.
Do you want one of the 11 by 17s?
No. I brought notes.
Okay. We're just running down the list.
Yeah, so that's actually what my notes are. So I guess really going down, it's if you're looking at the 11 by 17s that are in front of you, name, address, tax map and lot, north arrow, and scale are all written on it. Name and address with the plat preparer as well. Town, we have the vicinity sketch, and name and addresses of all abutting lands as we mailed them accordingly. So the physical features and uses of the land within 200 feet, you'll notice that this is a residential municipal region. You know, we have the recycling center, then right across the street, you also have yourself, well, I guess from which particular side of it you're on, you have the municipal highway department, thank you. And the rest of the residential lots kind of wrap around the roadway there. The perimeter boundary lines and lots in square feet and acres are also included. The shape, size, height, location, and use of the existing structures on the site and those that are proposed. So the proposal is for a 5,435 square foot addition. It will also include a public bathroom. It'll include a staff room, bathroom that's specifically for the staff, and then an overhang that goes over where you would actually drop off your recyclables right now. So this proposal is primarily just the overhang itself. But there is those additional rooms there for staff, like I had said. The reason for the inclusion of the staff one is because on site there, they don't have their own dedicated systems. A lot of times they either have to go across the street to the highway garage, or if they are on the site there, there's one office and there's one small bathroom, but there's no areas to particularly clean. So if they're cleaning up some level of a chemical or not, that's why the bathroom was included. So the location, name, and width of any of the existing or proposed roads in the property, if you're looking at the plan set that's in front of you, it does include that as well. Locations and number of the parking lots and loading spaces. The plan itself, and even what you can see on this set right here, you'll notice that it's actually separated. There's no change in the parking spaces, but there is 3 different, what we're calling slip lanes. If you read the description that Josh Whipple put together, these 3 different lanes here are intended to allow some level of traffic to flow smoothly into the location. Slowest on the left, middle is kind of the middle tier, and then if you're on the right, the intent is that you're going to wrap around. But I'll explain that in more detail later on. Landscape plan, we did not include a landscape plan in this because it does not address any level of like trees or additional items like that. Location, type, and nature of all existing proposed lighting. There is a lighting plan within the actual handout, the 11 by 17 that I handed out. Scott, you had said it to me whenever you came by yesterday where that was. I looked at that plan set and I was like, oh, it's there.
It's there, okay.
You can actually find it in your packet as well, this set too. That really just addresses some of the external lights you were talking about, Scott, but I'll talk about the internals afterwards. Natural features such as water bodies, ledge outcroppings. It does show that there is a water body that's on the edge of the property. It is a small brook or stream. Existing or proposed grades and topographical contours, which is included. Size and accurate location of all existing proposed water mains. Also shows that there is an intended well and septic system, which is also the next one, means of a water supply. Surface drainage patterns. We are doing a drainage plan. We do have an application out to the state right now to suffice for that, mainly just because of the location, given the fact that it is a recycling center. We want to make sure that we're following all the requirements that DES has for us. Copy of certifications by a licensed septic designer, which is included. Location and type of proposed sewage disposal systems, which is the septic system. Location of existing and proposed on-site well is included as well. Soil surveys, which is, again, for the applications to the states. Location of any existing or proposed easements and deeds. And then we have the architectural plans, which is the big set. So
Okay.
I think I went through that relatively quickly.
I think you did, and I think you covered it all. The rest of the board, did he leave anything out? If not, then a motion.
I make a motion that we accept it.
Okay, a motion
Next time I'll get it.
by Brandon Self to accept the application is complete. Is there a second? Seconded by Jane. Is there any further discussion? Then all those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? And that brings us to the public hearing, which I will open up right now, and you can go into more detail on the plan.
Yeah, so like I was saying, well, I guess we'll go back to the intent and what the proposal is. If you're looking through the packet that you have, there's a diagram that Josh was able to put together, and you probably have, a number of you, if you go to the transfer station, recognized it. So this diagram, I think this is where it all started. 2018 was when the proposals came together. It's been floating around since then. This shows some of the issues that we have at the transfer station where there's no continuity in where people are pulling into the station, so oftentimes people are struggling with Is there a lane? Is there not a lane? How do I walk from one side of the recycling, which is where glass is, to the opposite side? It created enough chaos that Josh had proposed a number of different proposals, but this is the one that has kind of survived its way up until now. So if you take a look on the other side, it's a bit more of an easier to read diagram. You'll notice that there is 3 lanes being proposed. The slip lane, as it's being called, or the third fastest lane, is the side that is closest to where, and if you're looking on it over here, see this edge right here. This is the side where the glass recycling would have been placed. So the idea of this section is you can slide through here, go to trash, because you don't have any recyclables with you that you need to deposit into the actual structure itself. You'll notice that with the removal of the glass on this side, the intent is to put it over here on this window, and we'll increase the number of bay windows right here to actually accept the recyclables. What will happen is you'll have multiple bins on this side for glass. You'll have another one extended here for I think it's cardboards, and then it's plastics down here, continuing all the way down. The intent of this second lane right here in the middle is people that have already sorted their trash, or their recyclables, excuse me, and they're able to easily park the car, hop out, grab it, and throw it into the locations, while this other section right here is intended to help for those that maybe are a little bit slower at the process or have not sorted their recycling already. That way, so we'll just say the slow lane here, they can receive assistance from the individuals that are working on site. Middle lane is made for those that don't need that, and then of course the edges over here. Another issue that we're running into is that as people were trying to pass to get around, the faster area, whenever you didn't have a designated location, there was a detriment of people crossing from side to side. They were over here doing plastics, we're running over here because I have one glass, I'm trying to throw it in here, and of course cars were trying to pass. So this is trying to mitigate that. The inclusion for the actual staff itself is almost entirely on this side right here. The importance of doing this is that there's a bathroom, public bathroom here that is accessible for residents if necessary. There's a workshop right here because there is no dedicated workspace for the guys. This has a bathroom with actually like a shower and devices to clean, locker room for them to store their stuff, and then a break room for them to actually have lunch at, and the office for Josh himself. So again, mainly all on this side is for staff. I'd say that as we continue right through, it does show some of the diagrams and what it's going to look like. And so in this section here, what you can see is this is, again, where the side would be with staff. This is where all the recycling would go, and this is the bays itself. So the proposed lighting that Scott had asked about yesterday would actually be traveling along the sides of right here. We know there will be signage also placed on the top as well to designate which lane is which. We anticipate that to start, there will be a little bit of complications, and as residents get used to the system. Our hopes is to keep the site open even during the construction process. We'll have multiple different ways that we're going to work our way through it. So it's not like it'll close during that construction piece, but we'll have plenty of guys, staff trying to make sure that people can actually learn the system, get used to it, and then make it as smooth as possible. I think really following down that, if you have one of the 11 by 17s in front of you, are willing to share and look, the septic system is the same location, slightly moved askew, but whenever you are at the transfer station currently, where the glass building is, there's that grassy little hill on the side. We're trying to put one of the systems over there, and we'll keep the other system farther away between the well and the septic. Obviously, they have to have their distance, but they also need to be in locations where they're not going to impede or be hit by traffic. So that's the general idea for the locations. This is how it is proposed now, and really what we're looking for any level of recommendations from you all is, as Scott had brought up to me, one is maybe internal lighting. I did a little bit of research, and I think I wrote it down somewhere. Give me 1 second. Some of the other towns in the area that actually have raised coverings like this actually don't have internal lighting. Some either rely solely on the outside lighting, or they rely on lighting that's actually along the edges here. Given the size and the structure, I think that we should have some layer of internal lighting, or we should have, I think what Mike and I have been talking about, code enforcement, is putting in some layer of like a skylight of sorts. So we're open to the ideas of doing either. We wanted to really, that's where we wanted to focus to the board now is, what would you like to see on the internals? Is the lane something that we're proposing with the 3 lanes because we think that'll be the most cohesive way to work the system. But if you have any suggestions, that's what we're here for. So, any thoughts, comments, or concerns?
So as far as the lighting goes, skylights would be the best, as far as being cheapest to run. I don't know about cheapest installing them. And they could even be, something that was built up from the roof, slanted like so. I think south is that way on that, the way that building looks like. So you could have light coming in. It wouldn't have to be a straight, flat skylight that might end up leaking in 15 years. It could be. The older buildings used to take advantage of that. As far as the lighting goes now, inside the building there, though, there's no way for the guys working there to go through that area where the cars are. Well, they're going to be right, and to get into their locker room or something like that, they have to walk around and through this way.
Correct.
It's kind of
the lanes themselves, as they're depicted here.
Yep.
Actually, there is a more permanent barrier along this side. Because we really want to keep the faster traffic that's going through here. Not that they're going extremely fast, but they would be going faster. We want to keep them separated versus this side here, which will have the small little post barriers that just show made of plastic, just show where the different lanes are. But yes, they will have to wrap around either on this side or that side, which the guys down there I think are probably good at doing by now. They know the system. But as things change and people are more concurrent with the idea, I pull up to this spot, I park here, I get out. They'll know when the traffic comes and starts and stops, versus the wrapping around that people are doing now.
Those are going to be bins down the center there,
Yes,
right?
this side right here.
Right in
small,
between.
thin ones. Yeah, that'll mark the.
No, I'm talking about to put the recyclables in. I think I saw a drawing someplace that showed. That showed, bins right there, like that. So that's what it's going to be lined up there. So, the people who are experienced, they have the blue sticker rather than the green sticker, right? So they get the express one. So those bins are going to be set there, and they're going to be able to come in with their forklifts, I guess, or the little Bobcat, I guess, come in from the side this way to get it, correct?
Yes, come from internally, pick it up, and shift it out.
The bins I'm talking about are out in that area there where they're going to be driving.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right here.
Oh,
They're
sorry.
right there.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Right there.
Just
So
like they used to come out and get the
cardboard, but so they'll still have to come out here where the traffic is to go in there and get those bins out this way, correct? So they won't be able, there's nowhere really way to,
Work behind the police officers, stop the traffic.
because they will probably be filling up quickly. They usually do. That's the only, unless they use, really, there's nothing to prevent people with recyclables already recycled to use the other channel as well, correct?
Right. It's
You can use either one.
Restricted for the elderly. They will be checking your driver's license.
Well,
make sure you don't have it.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's restricted lane.
Under the canopy, during the winter months, it's gonna be rather dark in there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you really do need to have some lighting.
Something. Some kind of
in there.
Especially, are you gonna keep the same hours? Because I know one night,
Yes.
what is it, Wednesday nights, you're open until 6?
Yeah.
So it's darker,
During the
yeah.
winter time,
Just for safety factor.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, lighting be a good idea. Somehow skylights or whichever, or both perhaps, because skylights at 6 o'clock in December isn't going to help.
That won't have all light value then.
So both probably. And I would think a door in there into some part of it, from the inside there, in one of those areas there, a door, so somebody could get in there, not have to go all the ways around.
Sort of wrapping around the entirety of the
Yeah,
side.
they had to. Maybe whatever is going to be used the most, maybe it would be the break room.
There are doors
Yeah, there are.
from the main office
Let's see.
and the break room.
Out into there? Oh, yeah.
They're on the outside.
Okay, it does show them there. It shows them on this one, but I don't see them on that one there.
See they swing in both?
Oh, you're right. I think this is the original submission, so I don't know if the architect actually included those, but I will make sure he hears it.
There may not be a door here, or no?
Yes, it's this one.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep, so I probably ought to have a couple doors in there.
Include those there?
Quite handy.
Yep,
Josh's
for
office.
both of these. Yes.
Yeah, and then it's a solid wall. So the other question, that was to form a landfill, correct?
Yes.
You're going to be knocking stuff down and disturbing soil.
Yes, there's a demolition plan that addresses the existing glass structure that's
So
there.
it's going to
Yep.
be you're gonna be digging up and turning over stuff that's been covered.
So we've done test pits on the sites, and all of which have shown that that particular location where we're planning on doing this, the structure is cleared enough to build upon.
You might dig up a few rats I shot that I want to.
I'm just wondering about oil cans.
Yeah. I don't think there's any shortage of that, but the particular site that we're using is one of the clearer sites.
Any other comments on it? Other than we're talking about lighting in that over area there?
Lighting indoors.
Yep.
Yep.
And I was just wondering, Mr. Brandon, about the snow load on that roof. I know you're an engineer on this one, or you aren't on this one? You are on this one there. And I think it was like for 65 pounds per square foot, something like that on there. But that's a huge roof with snow is going to stay on that roof right there for sure. And I know you know your stuff, and I don't know that field, but I was just talking about it with Julius about it. You know, if we had a big winter with, say, 2.5 feet of snow on that roof there in a spring rainstorm that soaked it all up, you know, if that's about a gallon, I mean, that's about a square foot of water is right around that 65 pounds or something like that, I think, or a cubic foot of water.
Hockey pucks you throw up there once in a while.
No, I was just asking you about, you know, I know you guys usually put like a +2 or something on there when you design something like that, isn't it?
Well, I hate to disappoint you, but I am not the structural engineer for the project. I'm the civil engineer.
Oh, you're civil, that's right, yeah. I knew that anyways, right. Oh, sorry about that, yeah.
But I will say that typically, when you get into flat roofs like this, they generally design them for the live load for the snow. And so I'm guessing that the framework and everything has been sized for that weight. And to be honest, with buildings like that, they normally design them with snow, slow release type snow, so they actually want the snow to almost melt on the roof, because you don't want that whole thing to clean off either. It would be quite a mess on the.
Oh yeah, no, that pitch right there, that'll never slide off there. It looks like it's going to be a membrane on top of it anyway. So it looks like insulation and membrane on top of the decking. They've got it. So yeah, that's going to stay right on there. But it was just the load. I was just curious about that. No, I mean a rainstorm, a spring rainstorm with 2 feet of snow on a roof there. You're talking about 65 pounds per square foot, and that's about what a cubic foot of water weighs, about 65, maybe 68 pounds. And if you have 2 feet of snow on there, you might have a cubic foot of water, you know, soaked up in that snow. But again, the engineers generally do them, and then they add.
Yeah, normally
half
there's
again.
factors of safety of at least 2 for.
Yeah, that's what I figured. They double it.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I'm pretty sure that this is, if I was him and a better engineer, this was right here. Okay?
I'm not the building engineer.
Okay, any other comments on the recycling center there? I think they actually, one drawing shows doors in there, others doesn't, but that's a recommendation. They probably ought to have a couple of doors in those rooms there, just so that the workers can get back and forth without going outside. And the lighting inside of that clear span area there, be kind of dark without it. Anything else anybody can think of? All right, then I'll close the public hearing, and a motion to approve the site plan and with the recommendations would be in order. Motion by Richard Lane to approve the site plan with the recommendations that doors be in the, I guess, workshop area or other areas, the new part of the building there. For work, yeah, in the drive-through, thank you, in the drive-through.
It's basically opposite of what is shown on that map.
Yeah.
Or on that map.
And that there be some kind of lighting inside the clear span area. And it was by Richard, and you seconded it, Brandon seconded it. Is there any further discussion? Then all those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? Okay, that's all we have on that one, I guess.
Now I can't use the excuse it's raining out, not going to dump, right?
It'll be more streamlined through there because, you know, you'd be able to go through all of there and dump on either side of those bins in there, so. Although you're still going to get somebody to park right in the beginning right there and walk all the way down there to put their stuff or wherever, you know, still going to get that, but you aren't going to get away from that. Okay, our next item's up here, so we've done that. Discussions, voluntary merger. We had a voluntary merger for Copple Hill Road. And what is this? We have a drawing or anything that goes along with it?
No, because with the voluntary merger,
I'll
they're
just
just
read it.
removing a lot line.
Oh, they are,
And so
okay.
you just need to be authorized to sign their voluntary merger request.
Yeah, and not creating any more building lots. That's
Nope. Eliminating a building lot.
They're eliminating that. Nancy J. White, revocable trust, 2021. For the town of Swanzey has tax map 72, lot 58, and tax map 72, lot 59. Said lots being more partially described in volume 3182, page 1256, Cheshire County Registry of Deeds, are voluntarily merged for municipal regulation purposes effective upon approval by the planning board and for taxation purposes beginning April 1st, 2023. Upon planning board approval, these parcels may no longer be separately transferred without subdivision and will henceforth be known as tax map 72, lot 58. Trustees Nancy J. White and Marilyn W. Riley hereby acknowledge and affirm that the current structure situated on tax map 72, lot 59 will not be utilized as a residential dwelling unit, but may remain on the property and be considered an accessory structure. Okay, so I guess there are two houses on those lots. One's not going to be a house anymore, by the sound of it. Okay, and that's in this deed here, so all I need is authorization from the planning board for the chairman to sign.
Is that from on the Route 32 side or the shore side, lake side?
I don't know. Doesn't really.
I'm confused by your question, but it's just right over, it's right over there. Or over there, sorry. I'm misorienting the building. It's just down the street.
Oh, excuse me.
Yeah, there we go.
Okay, so we just need a motion for the chairman to sign the voluntary merger. A motion by Michael York to allow the chairman to sign the voluntary merger. Is there a second? Second, that was a tie, although Richard was louder, so seconded by Richard Lane. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? And that will be good right there. Let's see. No place I have to date that, I guess? They're going to date it when they bring it in?
You date it
Oh,
below.
there it is, right there. I didn't even see it. Thank you. 23rd, right? 23rd. Okay, there's that. Now we're down to rules of procedure amendments. Did anybody or everybody get a copy, or we had, the attorney looked it over and there were a bunch of revisions the attorney had on it. So we aren't going to be able to accept them and approve them tonight because of that. But we can read them over and look at them. Did some of that, let's see, I have a copy of it here that has those typed into it. Did you send that to the rest of you?
It's the one that you would have picked up this evening that was on the table. It should be that one.
This one right here.
I had meant to write draft number 5 on it, and I failed to do that. I apologize.
So,
And it's 7 pages. It's the only one that is 7 pages long.
make sure that I have that one. Yep, 7 pages. So pretty much it covers what we did on the last meeting or two, and also takes into these changes that our attorney had. And then some of them were just organizational changes. You can see that the attorney wrote on there a bunch of different stuff. Let me just throw you, I think it might have been in the other packet, but I can just pass it around to you.
I did not make copies.
Oh,
of
no
the
copy of that?
comments. I'm sorry.
Okay, but this is where it came from, if you want to just see it, and it's, Sarah wrote it into these right here, and I checked it over, and she got,
His comments.
they're in here as what the lawyer said that we should have in there, and it looks pretty reasonable to me. On the first part of it, though, they had changed around, they had that, the lawyer had that crossed off, and he put in a new section on there, under alternates there, And there is an option 1, option 2, option 3, and option 4. And that's how we're going to treat alternates at the meetings as to whether or not they can vote, whether or not they can participate in that. And those 3 options are different ways to do it. Option number 1 would be my selection, and it says an alternate member who is not sitting in place of a regular member may participate as a non-voting member in all discussions and deliberations by the board, including participation in a public hearing and deliberations after a public hearing, but shall not vote on any matter. That's probably pretty closest to what we've been doing. The other ones are similar to that. It's just that they cannot participate in a specific public hearing, or they cannot participate at all. You know, you've probably read them, the option 2, option 3, option 4. I would suggest option 1. Anybody else have any comments on any of those options there?
Just in options 2 and 3, he cites a specific RSA. Option 1 is not.
No, but that's 674-4 has to do with the public hearings on these land issues that we do. It's that whole general chapter on the planning board, that 674, and it has to do with public hearings on site plans. So, and yeah, they're just.
Option 1 is reasonable, and I think it's helpful for an alternate.
Oh, I do too, yeah.
Because then if you have to be seated, you had some experience.
Yeah.
Sometimes they come up with things that the rest of us don't see.
That's true.
So, option 1 then, is it?
Option 1.
Okay, option 1. And the rest is, I don't know, has everyone read any, do I need to read all this, or again, or can we just go over it here? I didn't have any other changes on it. These changes are the lawyer's changes, which are fine in there. I checked them off as I compared it to this piece when I went through it. I got this copy from Sarah there, and I checked them off, and she had them in there just how he said they should be in there. And we paid him for that too, so we might as well put it in there. The only difference I had was under decisions and reconsideration. We have a section on decisions and reconsideration, and that is just to move that to under public hearings, just before records under public hearings, because it falls along that. You know, we have public hearings, and we talk about the public hearings, how we conduct them. Chairman shall open it up, blah, 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 all the way down through there. Chairman shall close the public hearing is number 10. And then after that probably comes decisions, because after the public hearings, we do make decisions. So it's just to organize it a little bit better. If we put decisions after the public hearings and then reconsideration after decisions, because after we make a decision, we might make a reconsideration. So change nothing other than just to move those down there. Just placement is all. And I think that's the only thing that I had there. Let me just read this for a second. I just had a little notation here. Yeah, you know, under public hearings, number 6, you know, we're going down through there. Number 5 is those in favor of opposition favor or opposition of the proposal shall be allowed to speak. And then number 6 says any member of the board through the chairman may request any party to the case to speak a second time. But sometimes it's parties other than parties to the case that we want to hear from and allow to speak. So if we limit ourselves with just any party to the case, then we'd be limiting ourselves to abutters and you know, landowners and that type of thing.
We just took out to the case.
Don't you think that an abutter would be a party to the case?
Oh, a abutter would be a party to the case, but we're limiting it only to abutters if we use that.
Okay.
If we want to hear from someone else other than an abutter, say somebody on East Shore Road, you know, on the other side of the lake, we listen to on the lake stuff there.
During that harangue, somebody did say, on a lake, aren't we all abutters? In a way, he had a point.
He had a point there, but he didn't have a point within the description of an abutter, though, unfortunately. But we still take testimony, you know, so I think we ought to maybe think about taking that case out of there. So to read any member of the board through the chairman may request any party to speak and leave the second time out of there. Just, that is how we conduct the meetings anyway.
Yeah.
So we could do that. I think that was the only other little change I had in these. Anybody else, anything come to mind? If not, then we can set for our next meeting to, Richard, you had something there?
I'm just.
You would
going over
eliminate number
6.
6?
No, not eliminate number 6, no. Where are you, Richard? Are we still on number 6?
Number 6, there's something there that it doesn't make me easy.
Read it over a few times, yeah, give us something, because we could eliminate it completely.
No. But if you eliminate case, then you eliminate the option of the chairman to limit discussion concerning. If we get
I see what you're saying.
we got into a thing where we were 3.5 hours on one item, and people were saying the same thing over and over and over again.
Yep.
But the wording may request doesn't mean that it has to be granted.
That's true, too.
So it doesn't have to be granted. If the chairman in his mind says, well, no, we've been over that point time after time after time, then he doesn't have to grant the request.
That is true, yeah. That makes sense to you?
Oh, no, I agree. You have the authority to do that. But I'd like to see it in writing. That way you cover your butt.
So you're saying add something in there that says the chairman has the option?
Somehow, somehow we work that out.
To the chairman's consideration or
At the chair's discretion.
Discretion, that's the word.
Any member of the board, at the chair's discretion, may request any party that they speak a second time.
You don't want to take up to the case, though. If you want any party.
Any party.
Any party to speak, and not necessarily a second time, because,
Up to the discretion of the chairman, but how do you put that in there?
well,
We could just do any member of the board through the chairman may request any party to speak at the chair's discretion.
yeah,
Does
that sounds
cover
good.
it?
That gives him power to control it, I think, better.
That sounds good.
And when he looks up and see every other member rolling their eyes.
I have attended meetings in New York where chairpersons would say, does anybody have anything new and different to add?
We tried that, it didn't work.
Which addresses
Every single time.
which addresses the people
Yeah,
getting
but
up
they
and
still do it.
They still do it, they put a little, just a slant.
Well, but the chairman doesn't have to allow it. The chairman can shut him down and say, that's not different. We heard that a million times and that. But I don't like to run the board that way, just because lots of times these things don't go in their favor. And you can see that it's probably not going to go in their favor. And if you don't let them speak, at least speak their mind and get it off their chest a little bit. And you just say, no, shut up. We're doing whatever we're doing, and we do it. And then they really go away with a bad taste in their mouth.
earlier tonight, walked out crying.
She was upset, I know, but it does happen. But I mean, she did have a chance to speak. We didn't shut her down or any of that type of stuff. I mean, they're still going to be disappointed, but they're at least going to see that they had a chance to present their case, even though they lost.
Yep.
But sometimes they may win. But I'm just saying that's the way. That's why I've run the meetings that way. We didn't have to take a lot of that testimony for those 3 hours. But I think it's better that we do sometimes, just to.
Let them go home and you say that.
Well, it's, we're the ones here all the time. We know it, we see it all the time, and they don't. It's
Well,
different.
I think what Sarah read, I think that's a good way of putting it.
Oh, yeah, no, I think so too.
Puts
Yeah,
it right out
I think so
there
too.
that you do have the authority to do that. And sometimes
Yeah.
you might let them speak.
Oh, yeah, sometimes we do, but sometimes we do have to tell them not to speak, yes, and we do that once in a while, but not often.
Before you guys finish up, I just wanted to bring one more section under decisions on page 6, number 3, to everyone's attention, because Victoria had raised a concern about us needing to incorporate written findings of fact supporting the decision within the regulations, and the attorney made the same recommendation, so it's there. I just kind of want it make sure everybody notices.
So number three under decision says, notice of decision shall be filed in writing within 5 business days after a decision is made, as required in RSA 676:3. The decision must include specific written findings of fact that support the decision.
Yes.
Yep.
Okay, yep, that's
I made
good.
a note of that.
Okay, does that mean a decision granting as well as denying?
It doesn't matter, but as long as we do it when we deny something there. Yeah, we can give them.
A grant can be appealed as well.
Yeah, well, I think it says that.
But-
It says the decision. It doesn't specify negative or positive.
Yes, it's a broad decision.
The decision must include specific written findings of fact.
I mean, that's how the law reads now, that all decisions need to include specific written findings of fact. All of the notice of decisions include the minutes from the meeting, and within that, one of your processes is accepting an application as complete and things of that nature, and so that covers a lot of that for the specific written findings when it is an approval.
We had a full hearing on it, so that was the approval process.
Yeah. And just approval usually with conditions, so that those are written in there anyways, what the conditions are. So that it meets all the site plan review regulations, except for whatever the heck it is we put in there, and they have to prove that they can do it. But
We can
it means
include
both.
an additional line in the notice of decision saying that it met all of the site plan regulations.
Yeah, that might be good to
And list out the waivers.
cover it, yeah. I mean, just as standard boilerplate stuff there. So anything else on these rules of procedure?
I want to think about that and look at that one.
Think about that one about the, we're just on there, that number 3?
Yeah, about the decision.
Okay, what about it are we thinking about here?
Okay, if we are granting a decision, and I'm making up various things here, it won't impact the neighborhood, it won't do this, it won't do that. It's just a standard thing to rattle off. And then when you deny it, you have to customize it. But you are making findings, and it's not going to have these negative impacts.
What, I think you lost me there, but I think,
I want to look at that carefully, and I'm not ready to,
well, let's talk it around here a little bit here. Let's see what, because if you're talking, Jane, that's what they said.
Where it says notice of decision shall be filed in writing, and then why would it not say the notice of decision must include specific written findings of fact that support the decision?
It does, it just uses another sentence to do it. Same exact thing right afterwards.
It says a notice of decision shall be filed, then in the next sentence it says the decision must include specific. So maybe we need to be that blatant about it to say the notice of the decision must include specific.
No, the decision must include specific written findings. And yeah, regardless of the notice, I mean, it's a decision made by a board. I think it should be the decision, because the board made the decision.
Comma at the right, the filed in writing, comma, must include specific written findings of fact to support the decision within 5 business days. Is that 2 words?
I think the way it's here is there, it says it, pretty much, because then it states in that second sentence there, the decision, because we're not talking about the notice of decision, because someone could make a mistake with the notice of decision, but the decision that the planning board makes, according to our RSAs, has to be backed up by fact. So Steve, you're still looking up there?
Yeah,
Because we'd like to iron this out a little bit.
Steve, I have a new book for you. You weren't here that day.
I'd like to iron this out
That book, you're not going to find.
so we can do it at the next meeting.
No post-it notes.
Yeah, he's got my old book. Full of Post-it notes.
Stop reading from 1700s.
hey, I didn't bring the scroll, correct?
I can't talk too much about that. Mine was like 1998, something like that.
I thought it was from 89. Wasn't that recent?
Might have been, well, now. Luckily, I don't have it here with me to contradict me. It's served me well, I can tell you that. So,
As required.
So I think to your point, Scott, is you're saying the notice of decision could just be a yes or no. And the decision itself actually has to be.
that's saying that that notice has to have it in there. Well, it's saying that the notice has to contain it, I think is
Under
what.
676.3, under paragraph, or section 2, it says including written decisions containing the reasons therefore and all conditions of approval, etc. So that kind of translates into include specific written findings. So it's basically one sentence that you need there.
You mean an additional sentence or the one we already have there?
No, it's just
Make it all one sentence.
making it one.
Then you're gonna have a run-on sentence.
I think we're making too much out of it.
I'm gonna ask a dumb question. What is the difference between a notice of decision and a decision?
The decision is what we come to at this table. The notice goes out within 5 days afterwards.
Okay.
Notice is of a decision.
Yes, the notice says your
Yep.
application was granted, your application was denied,
Right.
okay?
And then with denial, you have to give specific reasons why it's denied.
What he's saying is that if it's approved, you should give specific reasons, even if it's just a blanket
Yes.
statement.
But like Sarah said, if it's just standard statement,
Specific written findings of fact that support the decision. Doesn't say the denial, it doesn't say the grant, the
Yeah.
decision.
and that's fine too.
And it could be either one.
With what Sarah said, that it met the site plan regulations and the zoning ordinance.
That's awfully broad.
It doesn't have to be specific unless it's a denial. Then it has to be kind of specific, but a fact would be that it met the site plan regs because we passed it.
Specific written findings. It has to be specific. It can't be a general that meets the requirements of law. Or it satisfies.
It says
Well,
here
then
that
it includes the whole site
the
plan
decision
regulation.
Right, you're gonna have what's said for.
It's specific written findings of fact, a fact that it met zoning ordinance and a fact that it met site plan review regulations. That's a fact. What do you think, Julius? Come on.
It's about the intent of the law itself. And the intent of the law is to look for, if it's approved, then it meets the approval of the regulations. But if it is not approved, then you have to show the findings of fact there. I think that's the key line right there.
Yeah.
He wants to know for disapproval, doesn't want to know for approval. That's the
Because
separation.
the denial, you're denying a property owner his ability to do something to this property.
Yeah, but with the grant, you are affecting another property owner in a butter.
Not if it's coded that they passed all the site regulations and all the zoning, then you're not.
Well, the abutter had a chance to air those grievances at the hearing. And if they were
And we judge the
Tough enough.
validity of that.
I don't like the ambiguity of that language.
Well, the language is exactly how the RSA is written, is copied in your rules of regulation, the section 1 of 676.3. So the ambiguity is the way the law is written. So
Well, I
it's,
don't like whether it was written.
So you get lawsuits, so that's why they make lots of ambiguity.
Yeah.
Then my suggestion is that we just keep it the way it is, and I won't see Steve the next meeting, we vote on it. And we're good.
All those in favor? All we gotta do is lock the door.
We're good.
Throw his car in the back of my pickup and we'll take it away.
Yay. I don't want to not one.
What are we going to do here? Steve's still looking at it, he's still looking at it there,
What
but
about this one? Just leave it the way it is, it's fine.
I think we should,
It meets the statute.
then let's for now, so we can get beyond it, leave it the way it is. Steve can think it over, and if he attends our next meeting, we can, and he has something to say about it, then we can discuss it then. And if we change it again, then we'll go back and have it the next one. Otherwise, I think we ought to just go to, I don't know if we need a motion for that. We probably need a motion just to, you call it? Okay.
The
Let's-
first two sentences in number one say approval or just must include specific written findings of fact to support the decision, either for or against.
Yes, it does.
And again, then.
Which, I'm just bringing it up.
Yeah, but I mean, what Sarah suggested as boilerplate wording on these decisions is that if it passed, then it met the site plan regulations and the zoning ordinance.
Right.
And that would be all we need to say. Anything more specific would be for a denial.
And if you have an appeal on the other side, like an abutter appealed it, they're the ones who are gonna have to bring forth the evidence of we erred. And that's gonna be, and if we've already met all the zoning and site plan regulations, how are they gonna be able to do that?
Good question.
I didn't go to law school, but I did stay.
Okay, let's.
I went to Joe Biden.
Let's move it along then. Let's have a motion that we suggested that option one was going to be the one we're going to take, so the motion has to include that. But that we included all of the attorney's recommendations in our rules of procedure, that we chose option number one under alternates, and move decisions and reconsiderations further on back underneath hearings. But that we will vote to accept it at our next meeting. That would be, I got the date right here too.
Mr. Chairman,
March 9th, yes.
what was that last one after option one for the alternates?
Just a second. It was that we moved the category of decisions and reconsideration, we moved it and put it just before records. It's right after public hearings, just before records. It's just a
Yes.
organizational thing in it is all it was.
Okay, and this is not an adoption motion.
No, we are not adopting it tonight.
We also amended that.
Oh, yes, you're right. Yeah, and Sarah brought to my attention, in number 6, under public hearings in number 6, we amended it to read, any member of the board, through the chairman, may request any party to speak at the chair's discretion.
Yes, I have that too. Okay, I will add that.
Okay. So, that's the motion.
Party or any person?
Pardon me?
Party or any person?
Any person.
Oh, it says,
Does it?
it says party.
Party,
on-
okay, well,
May request, what I have, Mr. Chairman, is may
Yes.
request any party to speak at the chair's discretion.
let's leave it at that, yes. Oh, no, wait a minute, there's more than that. Let me read that again.
No, that's just the portion that's changing.
Yeah, that's it, okay. Thank you. Yeah, that's it. So those are the changes, and we accepted the attorney's changes, and we will have, actually, we need the motion before we get discussing that. Everybody accept that for a motion. I will make that motion since I'm the one who said it all there. I think you got it all, do you? Well, do I need to clarify that motion? It's a little complicated here, but.
No, I just want to know what the motion is to, it's not to adopt, it is to.
No, the motion is to include the attorney's changes, and we need to say that we got option 1 on there. Yeah, I disregarded option 2, 3, and 4. Yeah, that we chose option 1 because the attorney left us a bunch of options. I don't know if you have a copy of that, Beverly, but the attorney gave us a bunch of options there, and we chose option 1, so we kind of have to include that in the motion. So.
Yes, I was just trying to understand the verb to use. We're not using adopt.
No, we aren't adopting. We can't adopt it tonight because there's too many changes in it.
So I'm looking for the verb in the motion.
Okay.
Motion to.
We include the attorney's recommendations.
Okay. Yes. Okay.
And we had a couple other small changes in there.
And I have them. I
You
have the
those
rest of
down
them,
there?
yes. I'm just
Okay.
looking for the appropriate verb.
Okay, that's, include would be the appropriate verb, I guess.
Okay.
Now we're tabling the section under decisions number 3. the next meeting.
We're leaving that in there, and in the next meeting, if we come up with something better on the next meeting, and if it changes substantially, then we'll have to go to another meeting to approve it. If it does not change it substantially, then we can do it at that meeting. And Sly seconded that motion. I made the motion. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? Okay, so we will be at our next meeting, just,
Approval moved to March 9th.
yep, approval to March 9th.
Said I asked to provide a statement of written fact and reply.
Okay. So, okay, next item's up, be site plan review regulations. We don't have time for those, probably, we aren't really prepared for those, but we are going to be doing those pretty soon. And any other business as may be required. Anybody have any businesses may be required? If
I
not,
will say I drove by Gamarlo's building.
Lego blocks.
yeah,
And I'm glad we stood our ground on the pitched roof. Because it makes
Oh,
it really does, yeah, looks great, yeah, as far as that goes, it's,
I can't believe the way they're sticking them together.
Like Lego blocks.
fast too, and,
Steve, we got the first apartment set just for you.
but that first section they set up, that giant, big giant roof and several sections there, and those guys put that roof on, all the shingles on in one day, on that, both sides. All those little peaks and everything, one day they did
If
it.
you really believe in climate change, we have a hurricane, they're totally over this job.
Okay, if there's no other business to be discussed, then a motion to adjourn would be in order.
Jane makes it.
I made it an hour ago.
Jane did, I know, okay. Jane's motion to adjourn, is there a second? Seconded by Brandon, is there any further discussion? Then all those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, okay, thank you, Beverly.
You're welcome.
Recording stopped.
Okay, recording's done. I want to tell all of you that I don't want anybody to be offended